Hello there and welcome to another review video, and this time it's going to be about the Doctor Who specials. Now I'm a little bit late in terms of doing a video on this. I wanted to do a video much earlier, but I just didn't really have the time. I'm going to be reviewing the 3 specials. Hopefully this gets released before the Christmas special with the goblins. This is of course the return of Russell T Davies, and these 3 specials feature the 14th Doctor and also the 15th Doctor, if you count the last one. And I'm just going to go through my overall thoughts on each individual special. Now, I did sort of do a written review for each special on my community tab. A very short, brief response. Hopefully this video goes into a lot more detail. And we're going to start off with the first special, which is The Star Beast. The Star Beast is, in my opinion, the weakest of the 3 specials by a long shot. This one actually kind of disappointed me in a way. I knew of the Star Beast story from the 80s, the little comic book that it was based on. I've listened to the audiobooks with Beep the Meep, and I just find the character, the creature, such a funny little creature. You know, this cute little cuddly thing which is absolutely evil. Meanwhile, the Wrath Warriors are these big insectoid, sort of creepy looking things, but they're actually friendly and nice. And you know, this special for me felt like it was on fast forward. It didn't feel like it wanted to give any time to Beep the Meep or, you know, any time to the story at all. It felt like it just wanted to rush through everything as quickly as possible and you know, resolve the problem with Doctor and Donna and everything else like that. And as a result, the story started to suffer big time as a result of this. I feel like this is the type of story where Beep the Meep, you know, the big creature of this special, just got sidelined massively, to the point that it was almost a background character half the time because it was too busy trying to fill in a million different things at once, like, you know, Doctor and Donna meeting again. How are they going to, you know, explain the meta crisis? How are they going to make Donna survive or die or whatever? You know, they had all this, and Beep the Meep just sort of got sidelined massively, and the big reveal that, you know, Beep is an evil creature comes really quite haphazardly almost. Like, you know, you don't get enough time with Beep to see it, this cute little creature, you know, for all pretend to be cute. You don't get like enough time with the Doctor and Beep. It just sort of, you know, he meets Beep, then he's running away with Beep, and then Beep is revealed as the big evil, which, I mean, I already knew the twists in advance, so I knew what was going to happen, but at the same time, I just felt like there could have been a lot more time dedicated to the Doctor and the Meep. And, you know, it could have had a lot more bits involved, but no, instead we have to have Donna's family involved. And to be fair, Donna's family aren't bad. I love her mother. I think she's fabulous. The way she's marched towards the Doctor when she, you know, hears him knocking on the door and sees Beep the Meep in the kitchen. Rose, I think she's a wonderful character. I think she's great. And of course, you know, Donna's husband, I think he's wonderful. He's just such a lovely man. Donna herself is fantastic, but at the same time, Donna's family do feel sort of, I don't want to say unnecessary, but they sort of, in the grand scheme of things, they don't really serve all that much. I'm just going to say that right now. They don't serve all that much. Obviously, Donna's daughter, Rose, she does have a purpose. Thanks to the fact that she gave birth to Rose, the meta crisis sort of problem is resolved thanks to the fact that half of it went to Rose, half of it went to Donna. So it sort of evened out in a way, and so Donna survives. I think that's a good enough explanation. Obviously, some people did have a problem with Rose regarding the, well, let's just say the trans issue. I don't care. I'm just perfectly honest. I do not give 2 fucks. I'm sorry, I don't care if they're trans or not. I don't. You know, I feel like some people just throw a hissy fit because the character is immediately trans and they hate it as a result. And, you know, they end up becoming the SJWs that they always cry about, ironically. You know, but speaking of SJWs, one of the big issues, and this is something that I do agree with, and I've seen a lot of other people, even left-wing Doctor Who fans, complain about, is the messaging, so to speak, especially that god-awful dialogue near the end, where the Doctor gets belittled. Like, I don't think there's a single person I know that thought that ending where Rose and Donna basically ridicule the Doctor and say, well, you used to be a woman, now you're a male identifying I don't remember the exact quote, but you just should let go. That's what women do. They let go. Obviously, Russell T Davies is a gay man, so he has no idea what women are truly like. But jokes aside, that fucked me off so much. Like, I've seen it, like, there were people who complained about the little pronoun bit earlier in the special, but honestly, that one didn't really bother me that much. Especially because you have stories like, which one is it? Monster of Peladon, or is it Curse of Peladon? One of the two, which has a similar scene where the Third Doctor and Joe Grant are talking, and they talk about the pronouns of Alpha Centauri. They have a similar scene there. And of course, I remember people saying, well, Rose is snapping at the Doctor and being mean to the Doctor. Rose is not mean to the Doctor at all during that segment. No, she's mean to the Doctor at the end, and that's what fucks me off the most. That bit right at the end ruins this episode massively. It degrades it to such a massive extent. It is a cringeworthy ending, and really that ending, it annoys me. Like, surely there should have been some revisions here and there. Like, I feel like some of the script should have been revised a little bit, especially, when you consider the fact that Beat the Meep is sidelined so heavily in this story. And of course, you get the hint of the boss at the end. I did think this was a toy maker. Obviously, it might not be the toy maker in the end. And I don't know, the ending really annoyed me. Annoyed a lot of people. If there's one consistent criticism throughout this particular special, the ending, the let go ending is just, it was abysmal. It was poorly written. It was insulting to the Doctor and the character of the Doctor, and even Donna, to that matter. I have seen some criticisms given towards Rose's actress, Yasmin Finney, is it? I don't really remember. Some people think that she was a bit flat, and I can see that. She was a little bit flat, but I think she was decent for what she did. Obviously, again, she isn't that major or important of a character. She's important for one thing, really, if you think about it, and important for getting Beat the Meep involved. But that's about it. For what it's worth, she was decent. I thought she was great. But again, because of the fact that the story is on fast forward mode, it results in, Rose not really having much of a character. And that might be why she feels a bit flat, because, they talk about, I don't know why I am either. And of course, she's got all these, like, weird looking doll things. Well, those weird little doll things don't really, they only have one little purpose, and that is, oh my god, the shed is like the TARDIS. Oh my god, all these doll things are based on the monsters that we saw, like the Daleks, etc. Again, if this was a longer special, you could have built up a bit more with Rose, and I think that would have worked far better, but instead we didn't really get that much from her. Instead we have to have that stupid bit of dialogue at the end, which... Ooh. And, at the same time, I do feel like the other issue is the fact that this was written in the 80s, this particular story. And in the 80s, there was such a thing called serialization. Serialization meant that you could do 5, 4, 6-part stories, 25-minute 6-part stories, which meant that a lot more time was dedicated to these different parts. You're now trying to cram in what is basically a serialized story in 60 minutes, and that shows in this particular story. The Star Beast energy thing that, possesses the soldiers, it just sort of gets brushed aside pretty much. It's shown right at the beginning, and then it's sort of shown at the end again. I feel like a lot of the problems could have been resolved with more time. Maybe split it up into parts. In fact, speaking of rushing, the resolution, the whole of London gets cracked open, and then all of a sudden the cracks just heal like that. That's a good example of why this story feels so fucking rushed. It feels like it's on fast forward, and initially I gave this a 7 out of 10. I was being quite generous, and I remember, I wrote some critical comments on several Doctor Who, social media accounts. There was one in particular for the Doctor Who magazine which said, "Give us your personal thoughts," and of course I gave my personal thoughts, and seemed a lot of people agreed with my thoughts, especially towards the end and the fast forwarding of this particular story. I also didn't like the breathing sound at the end credits, which was consistent throughout, so I'm assuming that's going to be a permanent thing in the opening titles, which kind of sucks because you got this wonderful theme tune, and then you got this constantly. It's just I don't like it. I really don't like it. I mean, it could work. I mean, look at the 8th Doctor's theme, which had those piston sounds, which sound great. So I don't know. I'm just not really a fan of that either. But back on what I'd rated, I honestly, the more I thought about it, the fact that I watched it a second time as well, give my overall thoughts. This one, honestly, I'd drop it down to a 4 out of 10. I'll be perfectly honest. This is a really bad start to the specials, and I honestly feel like the fact that this one wasn't that great probably affected the other specials, which is a real shame because the other 2 specials are a massive improvement. Wild Blue Yonder, pardon me, is the second of the specials, and this one is the one that no one knew anything about, and there was all this speculation that, this is going to happen, and then what happened was it was its own story, it's its own contained story, and I quite like that. Really, this story is, to a lot of people, the best one, and by a long shot. And I think one of the reasons why this is the best one is it's self-contained, so it's not trying to concentrate on a million different things at once and getting lost and sidetracked and trying to brush things off as quickly as possible. Instead, it's just self-contained. Doctor and Donna trapped on a spaceship. There's these replicating things which mimic them and come out of nowhere, and they have to escape the ship and get the TARDIS back, and TARDIS is gone, so they're trapped. It's just a simple setup, a simple story, and it manages to create the most effective send-off, or most effective... it's the most effective special, honestly. This is the best one by a long shot. Some people compare it to Midnight. I wouldn't compare it that highly to Midnight. Midnight is far better, but this one's a very good special, and I think the fact that it is more self-contained means that it's able to concentrate on things better as opposed to being distracted like it's got ADHD or something. Honestly, the only major criticism I have with this special is the cold opening, where you have a Indian I believe he's an Indian, Isaac Newton. Now, I'm going to say this right now. When it comes to history, do not ever whitewash, blackwash, Asian wash historical figures. It is fucking stupid. Like, imagine if they decided to go to see Nelson Mandela at the beginning, and Nelson Mandela is this white man. Do you imagine the outrage that would have happened? So why is it that it's all of a sudden fine when it's a white figure in history? Makes you think, doesn't it? Hypocrisy, double standards, and honestly, that kind of fucked me off a little bit, because I really hate it when programs do that, especially something like Doctor Who, which, by the way, when it was initially pitched, it was meant to be an educational program and do historical stuff. You shouldn't do that. That's a big no-no. You might as well have black Nazis next, or gay communists. See how well that goes. But I digress. To make matters worse, the cold open has no purpose, at all. Like, the cold opening could have literally have been the Doctor and Donna, they're crashing the TARDIS into the spaceship, and they walk out a bit, and then they hear the TARDIS go, they run out, and the TARDIS has disappeared. It's run away, so to speak. And that could have been the cold opening. You didn't have to have that cold opening, which some people have sort of argued that what Russell T Davies is doing is generating controversy, in which, for those who don't know, a lot of media these days like to generate controversy. They know they're going to piss people off. They know they're going to get criticized. So what they do is they generate controversy, but they do it in such a way that they can't get... They can cry things like racism or sexism or transphobia, homophobia and all that, when really there are legitimate criticisms which aren't to do with this. I mean, look at the Davros controversy, which I am not going to touch with a 10-foot pole. That was literally done to generate controversy. No one complained about it. No one cared about it. that's just to generate controversy for the sake of saying, well, actually, all of our critics are a bunch of vile creatures who are racist, sexist, ableist, etc., all that crap. And I am convinced that's the only real purpose it had, was to generate controversy, because there is no other purpose for this cold opening at all. Like, literally, you could remove it and it'd be fine. Obviously, it does create the running gag of Mavity, which I will admit, I do find that quite a funny running gag, the fact that they say Mavity. I did find that quite humorous. But aside from that, I think this one is a very strong episode. You've got these replicating sort of things. I actually called them things when I was watching it. That mimic the Doctor and Donna. And of course, there's this mysterious spaceship at the edge of the universe. There's this banging noise. Everything moves like almost every few minutes or so, and it's really weird. There's this mystery, and you get invested and interested in this. I love the fact that the mimic things, I don't actually know what they're called. I love the fact that they can, they start to learn the memories and voice patterns and actions of their hosts, and so they eventually start to manipulate them, the way the Donna one manipulates the Doctor, for example. Even though I gave zero shits about the flux and anything like that, I do like the fact that, he's sort of done what the Chucky series does, in the sense that, even it embraces even the worst aspects of the series, and it just keeps it in tow. And so I think at the same time, I think that was quite an effective moment where, the Doctor is being tormented by the Donna thing, and manipulating his emotions. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the ending was definitely, cliffhanger worthy, especially when you have the Donna and the Donna thing, and you think, oh god, has he actually left the real Donna? Like, imagine if in the third special the Donna thing said something like, my arms are too long, or something like, or even the Doctor said that. It would have been like, holy shit. It would have been horrific and heartbreaking. It would have been shocking. But obviously, the real Donna gets saved and the Donna thing gets destroyed. That's how it works. We gotta have our happy endings. But at the same time, that I wouldn't lie, I was a little bit on the edge of my seat during that bit. I just love the way that this place is sort out. I will also say, and this is something I just remembered I forgot to cry and bitch about in the previous special, I like the fact that the sonic screwdriver isn't involved in this story. So I forgot to mention in the Starbeast bit, I do apologise, that one of the other big criticisms I had with the Starbeast was the sonic screwdriver becoming this way too convenient gadget that can do basically anything. That really pissed me off. I remember people in the 80s used to get annoyed with sonic screwdriver, that it was too convenient, that they ended up destroying it in the Visitation. And I'm so glad they got rid of it for this particular special. In fact, the next special they get rid of it as well. So I'm glad that they realised, okay, the sonic screwdriver is a little bit OP, we should just not use it. Which is a good thing, because honest to God, I hate the sonic screwdriver being OP. I'll be perfectly honest. But nonetheless, back onto this second special. The second special, I think the fact that it is more self-contained results in a much better story, much more fluid story. The Things are very interesting villains. I think they're very fascinating villains. I would love to see something similar, or them reappear again, because there's infinite possibilities you can have. You could literally recreate The Thing, but with Doctor Who with these things. Imagine that. Who do you trust? But at the same time, I love the fact that the mystery eventually gets resolved in the end, and the fact that basically this spaceship is going in slow motion. It's basically going to explode on its own, and the horse woman pilot killed herself so that she can get taken out by the Things, and they couldn't access her memories, etc. And the mystery of the Things as well, you don't know anything about them, you don't know how they really work and what they really look like, and even they don't really know, and so you're left with a lot of these questions, but it's done purposefully and done flawlessly, and I think it works really well. Really, this is the best one of the 3 specials by a long shot, and I think the fact that it is more self-contained is why, because it's not concentrating on a million different things at once and trying to, stitch them together, but they're not really well threaded. So yeah, this one is 100% like an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. Really good story, really good story, really self-contained story. And we also see the last appearance of Wilf. I mean, technically he appears in the next one, but you can definitely tell that's a stunt actor. This is Bernard Cribbin's last appearance. Sadly, he was too ill to record any more. It's just great to see Wilf again, and I love the little hug they give each other. It's almost tear-jerking. If you're someone with a lot of emotions. Unfortunately, I'm a heartless bitch, so no. I'm joking. It was wonderful. It was really sweet. I loved it. Wilf is lovable. Who doesn't love Wilf? And of course, the cliffhanger ending of like a plane crashing and everyone just trying to kill each other, and Wilf is just confused and saying, everyone's trying to kill each other. Everyone's gone mad, Really, to be fair, the special's very lucky there weren't any plane crashes. Imagine there was a big plane crash or something and they had that at the end. Jesus, they would get so many complaints. But nonetheless, I think this is a very good special. I think the cold open is really the big issue. There is also a little bit of iffy CGI here and there, like the corridors sometimes look way too fake, as do the things. Now, obviously, the things are meant to look a little bit stretchy and weird, but there were times where they just looked a little bit too low quality, so to speak. So yeah, I think this is a very good special, really good special, massive improvement over the previous one. But unfortunately, I feel like because this one didn't really have a lot of fanfare, and because the previous one was a little bit controversial and also very disappointing to a lot of people, I feel like this one, as a result, kind of suffered in the ratings. I mean, the ratings weren't very good. Let's just be perfectly honest. The ratings were not very good, and I do think that the Chibnall era probably helped contribute to that, as did the previous few eras. To be fair, Doctor Who has not been doing very well for a very long time, and the Chibnall era almost killed it. And I do feel like, and I'm going to say this right now, I do feel like Russell T Davies needs to keep his mouth shut a few times, just because every time he opens it, it seems like for his Doctor Who Confidential or Unleashed. I only watched one of them, and the Davros comment made me turn it off immediately. And, ever since that Davros comment, then the, thing involving Rose, although I didn't really see much of that, nor did I think that controversy was all that important. And then, of course, the Isaac Newton thing, and then, of course, the next one, which is Toymaker, where he just claims, the reason why he's speaking in a German accent is because he's a racist, which, I feel like Russell T Davies needs to shut the fuck up, because he's just going to sabotage his own work if he keeps saying stupid shit. Like, obviously, I think he's it's fantastic he's back, and he's, you can tell the writing is far more improved, but sometimes silence is blessed. Silence is grace. Silence is better than constantly talking, But I digress. We're on to the next special. And the third and final special, which is, of course, the Toymaker's return in the Giggle. I'm going to be honest, this is the one that I was looking forward to the most. This is the one I was really excited for. And for the most part, I really do enjoy it. Except for the final third of the story. So this story, the setup and everything, obviously last time, everyone's killing each other. Everyone's gone mad. Planes are literally crashing onto the ground and flying all over the place. God knows how many people are dead. God knows how many people have survived. And why is Wilf? Why is Donna and all that? Okay, why is Unit fine? Well, you'll get a reveal that it turns out that a old, the first ever televised thing, which was this puppet, it was laughing at everyone, and it's somehow hypnotized everyone to just start killing each other and drive them mad. Because now everyone knows that they're right, and they're always right, and they always are better than everyone and everything, And so what you get is a world gone mad. And so everyone wants to be right. And I always feel like this is where Russell, I was just bitching about Russell T Davies, needing to shut the fuck up when it comes to, talking about certain things, because it's clear that he's just going to sabotage his own work in his own era as a result if he says such stupid things. But here is a case where he is doing, dare I say, political commentary, but subtly. Everyone wants to be right, and they are going to be adamant that they are right, even if they're completely wrong, even if they insult and attack each other. Doesn't that sound a lot like Twitter? Doesn't that sound a lot like social media, where everyone needs to be right all the time? And yeah, everyone ends up following each other and just mimicking what they say, as opposed to having their own independent thoughts. And that's not just a left-wing problem. That's a right-wing problem. It's a libertarian problem. It's a problem all around. No one is independent these days. Everyone has to be dependent on another. And, that's quite clever little bit of commentary, I think. I love that little setup. And I love the fact that, the toy maker just outright appears. He appears as this French person dancing in the street weirdly, and of course the doctor doesn't know, and then he sees him like waving. And the toy maker himself, we see a little cold opening where he gives the puppet over, and he is responsible for this whole ordeal, sort of giving away the crime. But hey, who cares? Neil Patrick Harris as a toy maker absolutely fucking kills it. I love his portrayal of the toy maker. I thought he is fantastic. The celestial toy maker, he always looks like, in a way, when at least when the wrinkles start showing, he almost sort of looks like the old toy maker when he has that little smile on his face. And the toy maker, I love the fact that he just constantly manipulates reality. Everything goes all crazy, and, he constantly changes his costume and all that. And the fact that he changes his voice all the time, it's quite funny. He goes from French to German to American to British and all that. I love it. I love it so much. I think his portrayal is fantastic. And, of course, the Doctor and Donna, they go back to the past in the TARDIS. And when they do, they find the toy maker. And, of course, that's when the revelation of the toy maker is. They have flashbacks to the actual Celestial Toymaker serial, some of which are just pictures, mind. They are just pictures, colorized, of course. Everything, colorized pictures and colorized programs, or colorized version of the Celestial Toymaker. I will say this, by the way, I fucking hate the idea of colorizing black and white stuff. I do. In my opinion, if it's made to be black and white, it should stay like that. I mean, looking at the Daleks colorized, for example, with that god-awful music they had in the background, and it just ruins it, honestly. It's almost disrespectful. But tangent aside, the toy maker, of course, they go through the corridors. They see a puppet on strings, which turns into the Doctor. There's also that mum puppet with the baby dolls that Donna ends up smashing the mother's head open and scaring the babies away. That's quite funny. They, meet each other, and then, of course, you have the puppet show, which I love this puppet show sequence where he talks about past companions that have died. For some reason, Doctor Who fans, as usual, being the retards that they are, they seem to be unable to understand that they are, the Toymaker specifically naming the companions that died, not all of them. Like, for some reason, they got really upset that Yaz wasn't mentioned, or Dan, or whoever else who survived, technically. It's explicitly meant to be the dead ones. I know Doctor Who fans aren't the smartest things in the universe. It's actually quite a shame to call myself a Doctor Who fan when I have to associate myself with these retards, but boy, am I going to get in trouble for that. But he shows off the past companions that have died. For example, Amy, it says she was touched by a weeping angel. And of course the Doctor says, oh, she actually grew to old age. And of course you get the meme of, well, that's all right then. Can't do an American accent. I love this sequence. And of course it talks about Clara. She was killed by the bird. And of course, reference in the Raven. And of course, Bill, poor old Bill, turned into a Cyberman. And of course, I love the fact that the Doctor tries to, excuse these, but deep down he's really pained by this, and Toymaker is just mocking him. And so they go back to the present. They reveal the Toymaker has done this. They shoot down the satellite with a big laser cannon. However, the Toymaker arrives, and this arrival is perfection. I love this arrival so much. The Spice Girls song playing in the background as the Toymaker just dances in, kills 2 guards, turns them into balls. He, turns all the bullets fired at him into pellets. He keeps opening doors and appearing all over the place. He dances with Mel and the Brigadier's daughter. I think she is just the Brigadier now. I'm going to call her the Brigadier because she is. Brigadier 2 or Brigadier 3 technically, because there was a Brigadier before that, the black lady, I forgot her name. But that's the dance sequence is amazing. By the way, I forgot to mention Mel's in this. Mel sort of just randomly appears. I won't lie, she sort of is crowbarred into the story for the sake of being there. But obviously, knowing that she's going to be in the next series, maybe that's the reason why. I do like the fact that Mel is here, and is it bad that, in the span of, technically less than 60 minutes in terms of Mel time, that Mel has had more characterization than she did in the 80s? God, Mel's amazing. I love her. I love how they explain why the hell Mel is on Earth, because I was thinking, watching Power of the Doctor, how the fuck is Mel there? She should be. Well, but they do explain it. I do like the fact they mentioned glitz. That was I actually smiled at that bit. So yeah, everything is really good so far in this special. I love the giggle, but it's after this dance sequence where it just hits rock bottom, and I'm going to say this right now. It is nothing to do with the bioregeneration thing. I actually quite like that idea. I think it's quite a nice little idea. Plus, it sort of explains why there's some canon oddities here and there. Like, for example, the memory TARDIS, which was for the 60th anniversary, which I loved those little tales of the TARDIS. I think they were wonderful. I thought the one with Joe Grant and Sarah Jane's companion, the Black Kid, that one made me a little bit emotional. I'm not gonna lie, that one made me smile. And I mean, Sylvester McCoy and Ace. Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, I should say. Seeing those two together, my favourite Doctor and Companion duo. I love it. Honestly, I'd love those tales of TARDIS. But it does sort of explain that. It also explains the 2 Doctors, because no one really knows when that was meant to take place. Of course. No one knows when that was meant to take place. It just was. And yeah, everything, I do quite like the idea behind it. I know some people got a little bit iffy because that kind of reduces the regeneration, and yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, I'm okay with it in a weird way. I don't really think it's all that bad. But the thing that does piss me off is actually the storytelling itself, the writing, and the how rushed it felt. The Toymaker magically appears on the cannon. He starts playing around, but there's no real. It just feels very haphazardly done. You have all this grandiose with the Toymaker. You have all this bigging up, and it ends with just him on a cannon. Just shouting and playing with the Doctor, and then of course you have the bioregeneration thing. Then they play catch, and the Toymaker loses, and of course he folds himself up and puts himself into a little jack-in-a-box. And honestly, I felt really disappointed in that. I wanted something much more grandiose, much more intense. Why didn't they just bring back that old game from the actual Celestial Toymaker story, or something else? Maybe chess or something. I don't know. I don't know. I just felt that was a little bit. I also, I will say this actually, whilst I don't care, whilst I never wasn't upset by the bioregeneration thing, honestly, I don't think it's that bad. There's one thing I'm a little bit somewhat upset or disappointed by, is that why did the old Doctor's face return? I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it would have been slightly better explained if maybe the 15th Doctor, Nakuti Gatwa's Doctor, was actually the Doctor, but for some reason Toymaker manipulated the regeneration, which resulted in, the other Doctor appearing again. I don't know. And then, when the bioregeneration does happen, they split off, so you get, David Tennant Doctor and Nakuti's Doctor. By the way, I really like this first like moment with the 15th Doctor. I think he's, fun and energetic. I really like him. Like I've said it before. I've not seen him in anything. I still haven't watched Barbie, by the way. And I know he's in that. And he's in Sex Education, is it? I don't remember. I've never seen him in anything, so this is my first impression. I don't think he's really enjoyable, and I've seen him in the Goblin clips, and I think he looks like a lot of fun, honestly. But again, like, my problem with this final act is it just felt rushed. It's like with the Star Beast, where it feels like it's just like the fast forward button was just pressed, and all of a sudden we're just rushing through the whole plot, and now we're done. And it feels like there should have been a lot more grandiose, a lot more to it. I feel like if you removed certain elements, like Mel, maybe you could have like added some bits, but I don't know. I just feel like the ending just felt really rushed. Also, I think the whole TARDIS having a wheelchair accessibility thing, despite the fact you're not gonna have the character that's in a fucking wheelchair in the TARDIS, was hilariously stupid. Like, it's like, dare I say, it's like diversity showing its face and not actually understanding why it's there. Like, if she was going to become like a companion, that unit lady, it would have been, oh yeah, sure, that's kind of cool. But no, they just do it because they want diversity points, and they're not going to actually have her on because they actually don't want her on, clearly. By the way, everything felt like it was on like a part of a unit TV show. I don't know whether anyone else thought about that, with like the Blinks, that robot alien thing, and forgot her name, the wheelchair lady, which I by the way, I thought it was absolutely hilarious seeing some people online like get really upset and confused, saying, oh, she's not even a disabled woman because she's moving her legs, despite the fact that disabled women can in fact move their legs slightly, if depending on what disability they have. And they can have kids naturally. Fun fact, paralyzed women, for example, can naturally conceive, for example. But, of course, people don't understand anything, do they? By the way, I do like that character. Even if I've seen some people call her a little bit arrogant, and, I can see why, because she does have that little snobbish attitude. But the fact that she does get called out for it by some of the other characters means that I think it was part of her character trait, a bit like Adric. But well, less so than Adric. She's actually likable. But yeah, I do like that wheelchair lady. I mean, she was fun. I did find her enjoyable to watch, and kooky. I like the little wheelchair missile. But nonetheless, Mel, obviously, she's great, even if she was slightly pointless to the story, not gonna lie. And seeing two doctors at once, that's kind of fun. Like the fact that the Toymaker's hammer has resulted in two TARDISes being formed, and I like how there's now two doctors about. Which in a way does mean that Big Finish is going to have a whale of a time, especially if the Doctor has taken Rose to Mars. I mean, geez, imagine if they got chased about by the Ice Warriors. There's a story for you. I will admit, even though I find the final act of the Giggle pretty shit compared to the rest, which is really, really fucking good, I won't lie, the little conversation at the end, the little tea party the Doctor has with his newfound family is a little bit cute. I love the fact that he says Rose is his favourite niece, and of course they mentioned the trip to Mars, or the fact that he was going to marry this queen alien who's going to push him off a cliff or something like that. And of course, he's found happiness, he's found joy with his family. Meanwhile, Nakusi's Doctor is just about beginning his adventurous life. It's really sweet, and what some people have pointed out, who's to say that he doesn't become the creator, this 14th Doctor. Who's to say he doesn't? It would be very interesting if he does. I think that's a little bit sweet. Obviously, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen next. It certainly got me excited. Overall, this story, I'm debating whether it's a 7 or an 8 out of 10, because it's between those numbers. Like I said, the third act is really what brings it down, because it just feels rushed. It feels way too rushed. It feels like it should have been a bit more grandiose. It should have been a much more... Like, even like the fact that there's plane crashes, which probably claimed the lives of hundreds of people. And it's sort of brushed off like, oh, well, people died down there. I'm going to look sad now. And now I'm going to hug my younger self, new self, clone self. I must admit, I was a little bit worried they were going to kiss when he hugged. I won't lie. That would have been very creepy. But, like, it's like, I just would have preferred a little bit more. Nonetheless, I think this is a very good story. I do genuinely like it. I think it's great. It's just the third act that just sucks. I say sucks. It's lackluster. It's very rushed. It's very lackluster. It feels like they ran out of like pencils to write, so they just started using their flesh to write the rest of the story. I know everything's done on computers these days. Maybe they ran out of storage. But yeah, overall the Giggle, personally speaking, the Giggle was probably my favourite of the three. But on a technical scale, now in terms of Doctor Who, the Wild Blue Yonder is definitely the best. You know, technically speaking, that is the best one, but the Giggle was definitely my personal favourite. The Star Beast is the weakest by a fucking long shot. That one is mediocre, bordering on slightly bad, which is quite shocking. And honestly, its effect kind of affected the rest of the specials, in my opinion, because they did not do very well viewership wise. 5 million, really, that's the highest it really got. Now obviously BARB ratings are not to be necessarily trusted, because for those that don't know, ratings could actually be higher or lower depending on what they are, because they only, if I recall, take statistics from like 18 households for the BARB, which means that those 18 households, if they weren't watching something, then they're going to say, oh, wow, it was barely watched by anyone. But then if like those 18 houses were watching something, then it's going to, oh, it's watched by absolutely everyone, which doesn't give you a fair statistics. Like, if like the only true way to verify is if you had like every single human being in Britain, you know, you ask them a question, did you watch Doctor Who? And yes, no, and then you'd get a proper statistic, and that would be virtually impossible, because some people might say, oh yeah, I watched it, and they actually watched a repeat or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to viewership ratings, they could be higher, they could actually be lower. You don't actually know. And then in some cases, you get Legends of the Sea Devils, which gets only 2 million. Fuck me. And that's real. But, like, yeah, I think overall these specials were fun. They were really fun. And they are a million times better than what came before. You know, much better than the Chibnall era. However, I'm not going to lie when I say that there are a lot of teething issues, a lot of writing issues. I think the big issues with them is the fact that they are only 60 minutes, and it's clear they needed a lot more time. It's clear that they probably needed a few more parts added to it. It's clear that he may have even needed an entire series. And, you know, there's a lot of Deus Ex Machinas where things would just resolve just like that without really any thought or process added to it. And I feel like a lot of the stories felt rushed. You know, the first one and the third part of the third one just was so rushed, in my opinion. And of course, you got the cringy dialogue and diversity bits involved. Now, like I said, when it comes to diversity, you can do it very well. I mean, look at Rose. She's a very well done character. She's a trans character. I do not care. And that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to care. You shouldn't have to get upset by it. It shouldn't be in your face, so to speak. It should just be an actual fucking character. But at the same time, Rose was basically sidelined quite a bit. And you then have all these stupid comments here and there, like the wheelchair accessibility for a character that's not actually going to ever be in the TARDIS. Or at least not confirmed. But, yeah, like this, I don't know. Like, there were a few bits here and there which were a little bit, you know, less than subtle, so to speak. But I think overall these specials were good. I think they're very good. I think it's a step up. Now, obviously, is it a massive leap forward? No, it isn't. It's a step forward, you know, tentatively, so to speak. But We're going to get there when we get there, and everything will be fine, I'm sure. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick review of the 3 specials. I say quick review, I think this has gone over 40 odd minutes. And I am looking forward to the Christmas special. Ugh, I can't speak. Christmas special. The Goblin song has been stuck in my head. I absolutely love those little fucking things. And the Goblin King. Even if they are singing about eating a fucking baby, which is not pleasant. But at the same time, I'm hoping the Doctor saves the day. I am interested to know why the hell he's in a dance club. That's the thing that's really gotten to me. Like, why is he in a dance club? You know? I guess he's just flexing on his new regeneration. Now, either way, I am looking forward to it. I think his leather brown trench coat looks fantastic, as well as the orange top. I think, the clips that we've seen, he looks fun. Sonic Screwdriver looks like shit, though. I'm not going to lie. I fucking hate that little thing. But, hey, everything looks positive. And we are entering a new era, and you can tell it's a new era, and hopefully Russell T Davies learns to shut his gob when it comes to the Unleashed, because if he doesn't, then he's going to end up sabotaging his own work, which is going to be a real shame. Especially because there are people on both sides who are very media illiterate, and they will overreact to even the slightest of things. Luckily, I don't care. So yes, hopefully the Christmas special will be fantastic. These are just my brief thoughts on the 3 specials that just came out for the 60th anniversary. And yeah, I'll see you next time.